news companies think that he wasn't really a serious challenger. They've been giving him loads of airtime. And he's literally written the book called Woke Inc., which is, when you think that Ron DeSantis is, the guy who says, Florida's the state where woke goes to die. They're sort of running on parallel tracks.
Now, here's an interesting thing, which I was reading in the Times this morning. Ron DeSantis is no longer Donald Trump's main challenger for the Republican nomination, according to polls. The Florida governor has been overtaken by the 37-year-old right-wing biotech entrepreneur, Vivek Ramaswamy.
I believe in giving my predecessors credit for what they accomplished. That includes President Trump, for exposing the rot of a deep state, an administrative state, that was previously not exposed by either party. He rolled that log over. We saw what crawled out. But if you're going to roll that log over, you better be willing to bring the pesticide. And that is what I'm bringing to the federal government.
That's Vivek Ramaswamy. Well, let's find out about him. Sarah Baxter is director of the Marie Colvin Centre for International Reporting. Joins me now live from New York. Hi, Sarah.
Hello, Matt.
We spent a long time trying to work out who Ron DeSantis was and could he beat Donald Trump and would he be better or worse as a presidential candidate. Tell us what we need to know about Vivek.
Yeah, now the question is, can Ron DeSantis even beat Vivek Ramaswamy? He's 37 years old. He's self-financed. I called him not very long ago a vanity candidate, and I stand by that in the sense that he's running his own campaign with his own money that he made from as a bio-entrepreneur, investing in an Alzheimer's drug that purportedly didn't work, that he thought might work. It made a ton of money on the hope that it might work and then didn't work after all, Matt. But Vivek Ramaswamy became very rich. And he's the funny thing is he's in the same lane as DeSantis. And it's partly because, the sort of news companies think that he wasn't really a serious challenger. They've been giving him loads of airtime. And he's literally written the book called Woke Inc., which is, when you think that Ron DeSantis is, the guy who says, Florida's the state where woke goes to die. They're sort of running on parallel tracks. And Vivek Ramaswamy is turning out to be a more engaging character than Ron DeSantis. I don't want to exaggerate. He hasn't really overtaken him. I mean, he's got a couple of percentage more in one poll. But the truth is, Ron DeSantis has turned out to be a rather charmless character, and his candidacy is dropping like a stone.
In fact, I read there was an interesting piece. I think it was an Atlantic piece by, I think it was Helen Lewis, where she was saying that the problem that what Ron DeSantis hadn't learned from Trump, they're very similar politically. But Trump loves the media. He loves talking to the media. He loves winding up the media. He loves phoning them up to try and get some gossip. He loves them covering them. There's this sort of symbiotic relationship with the love-hate relationship with the media. Whereas Ron DeSantis just seems to genuinely hate the media, doesn't really like having any questions from them, doesn't want to engage with them, and as a result has sort of not quite sunk without trace, but hasn't done the thing that Donald Trump did, that Donald Trump was a media phenomenon.
Donald Trump is an entertainer. Yeah. He's a showman. He gets eyeballs like that. Whereas Ron DeSantis thought that he could do something novel, like launch his campaign on Twitter. And we know what happened. It was absolute disaster. The whole site crashed and nobody could even hear him. He's a very poor communicator. In fact, there's a brilliant columnist for the Wall Street Journal called Peggy Noonan, who used to be Ronald Reagan's speechwriter. And she said, Ron DeSantis, and she was trying to write a favorable column about DeSantis because she doesn't really like Trump, but she says he gives off the vibe of someone who might unplug your life support to recharge his cell phone. Just a killer phrase. And there's a lot in that.
But I mean, ultimately, we shouldn't get too carried away because this is a tussle over who comes a very distant second to Donald Trump so far, isn't it?
Yeah, there's also another candidate called Tim Scott who's doing pretty well, an African-American candidate from South Carolina. People think that he's rather charming. What's happening is this. No one challenger to Trump is emerging. But at this stage, Matt, it's almost irrelevant because Trump is polling over 50% in the Republican primaries. So, when it's all this sort of holding your head and thinking, oh, my God, that a split field means that Trump's going to win again. he could win again anyway, whether or not an anti-Trump campaigner emerges, because he seems to have a really strong grip on the Republican Party. Not everyone wants to vote for him who's a Republican.
Yeah.
They're not seeing anybody else who's attractive.
So really good to speak to you. Really fascinating. That's Sarah Baxter there, director of the Marie Colvin Centre for International Reporting, joining us live from New York, reflecting on the polling for the Republican nomination.